Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, whatever time it is, wherever you are. It was time I did another one of these vlogs. There have been some significant things happening. I've needed to do a lot of inner processing in my life. Lots of emotions coming up as I'm wrapping up this process of conscious coupling. I'm a little more than halfway through. We're each doing our own individual parts at this point. We had our uncoupling ceremony in the park where we had our wedding ceremony 2 years prior. It was on the same day, 2 years apart, summer solstice. We did it in the evening, and it was lovely, benevolent, beautiful, bittersweet breakup. We didn't fall apart. I think we've done a lot of our grieving ahead of time, but it was definitely, how do I put it? What adjectives work well for this? It was thorough. It was reverent. It had its moments of irreverence as well. It was profound. It was fitting for the relationship that we had and the relationship that's now coming into its closure. There was a lot of detail. If you want to read more about it, you can go to Robin Wengert's timeline and search down a bit through his posts and read the detailed description that he shared. Actually, he tagged me, so it should be on my timeline as well if you want to read about it. It was really, truly nice. We opened with sacred space. So we opened with all 4 directions, north, south, east, west. We then took off our rings. As you can see, my ring finger is bare. The former engagement ring is now on my middle finger. Nothing is intended by that reference. It's on that finger because it fits that finger. It's now my shamanic journeying shadow stone. It's a raw black diamond that is a favorite of mine. So anyway, it's now my ring, not my engagement ring. We took the rings and we put them into the earth. Then we held them up and smudged them with a sage smudge stick. So we lifted them up to the air. Then we put them into the fire on sticks, kind of like hot dogs or marshmallows. That's the irreverent part. And then we put them into the water, and we did the water part separately. We each went down to the creek, Rickreall Creek, and passed them through the water. And the Rickreall Creek empties into the Willamette River, which I was born on. Actually, we were both born on that, interestingly. I was born in Eugene, he was born in Springfield. And then that water goes into the Columbia River, which goes out into the ocean. So we have this, whole cycle, because the ocean lifts up into the atmosphere and then it rains, and yeah, all the things. So there's been a lot of processing as I've gone through the uncoupling ceremony, and as I'm starting to explore my own life as an individuated, autonomous woman, and being open to what the future has for me. Going through all of the feelings. My inner child is feeling what she felt when I left my family of origin and went to college, and when I left my first marriage of 25 years and went out onto my own, and what I'm experiencing now. And the feelings that come from our inner children are not necessarily true in the adult sense of the word, but they are true to us. They're true to what the inner child first experienced. So this goes back to early childhood, in those formative years, ages pre-birth through 7, when our emotional foundation was being set. So all of the things that we felt then that were overwhelming to us at the time, that we couldn't resolve because we didn't have the means to resolve, those feelings will arise again in our adult years to be felt and processed now. So the trick is to not process them as the inner 3-year-old, but to process them as the wise adult. So there's different ways of doing that. Different ways indeed. One of the ways in which I do some processing is to do what I call the WEEP, W-E-I-P, the WEEP process. This comes from Access Consciousness. So the trick is to take the thought that you're thinking, the thought that you would maybe believe as truth, because you know you hear it in first person in your own head, and it's common to go, oh, that must be truth. So take that thought, such as, I am not safe, because that's an inner heart cry of my own inner child, because I didn't feel safe as a child. Now I am safe now as an adult, and nothing's happening to me. There's no, you know, tsunamis bearing down on me. There's no saber-toothed tigers over here pouncing on me off the sofa. There's no inherent danger. But the feeling is so profound, so primal, so foundational that it feels true, because it was once true to my inner child, because she didn't feel safe. So when I have the thought, I am not safe, rather than going off and racing into all of the emotions and thoughts that can spiral into this conspiracy of panic, instead I go to that thought and I say, I have the assumption that I am not safe. What else is possible? So the trick is to call that thought what it is, and it is an assumption, because I don't know the future. I don't know what's going to happen. I can't know for sure that I am not or will not be safe. But I want to honor that it's come up in my reality. So I'm not going to do one of those affirmations that say, no, I know that I am safe. I know that I'm going to be safe, because that dishonors the inner child who is currently going through that experience in her reality. So I call it what it is. I call the thought an assumption. And then I lift it up. Aha, I have the assumption that I am not and won't be safe. What else is possible? And in asking that question, what else is possible, for words, I don't answer that question from the limitations of my own mind, which can only pull from the past, and answer that question from my own inherent realized experiences. It can only pull from those resources when I may not have felt safe. Instead, I open it up to the universe of possibilities, and I ask, what else is possible? And I let the universe show me what those possibilities might be. So again, take the thought that you're thinking, call it what it is, an assumption, and ask what else is possible. And then let that question just hang there. Learn to live with the discomfort of the unanswered question, rather than rushing in to answer the question from the limited possibilities of the experiential past. The unanswered questions are not nearly as dangerous as the unquestioned answers. That quote got me through questioning my way out of Christianity and out of a marriage that wasn't working for me once upon a time. So another mind hack trick that's useful: visualize yourself as this wise, all-knowing part of your psyche. So your higher self, your all-wise self, and imagine that self sitting at a table. You can even visualize this long rectangular table, and you, the persona of the wise self, are at the head of the table. And all around you, gathered around the table, are the parts that are uncomfortable. So maybe your fear, your grief, your anger, your not good enough, your good girl or good boy, your trying hard part, your people-pleasing part, your judgment, your feeling of being alone. All of those parts, each of those parts have a voice and a message for you. So let them be at the table. Don't censor them, don't judge them, don't be harsh with them, don't rebuke them, numb them, muzzle them, muffle them. Let them be there, and let them each have a say. You can even draw this table on a piece of paper and put your wise self at the top of the table, and then you can ask each part, what message do you have for me? And then listen deeply on a heart level to what they might have to say to you, and write it down. Without judging it or editing it or censoring it. Just let that message come out to you. It's much like Rumi's Guest House, if you know that poem, that the human being is like a guest house, and each day a different visitor comes. It may be a sorrow, a sadness, a joy, a meanness, and you open the door to the guest house and you let them in because they have a message for you and a gift from you, a gift for you from the divine. So that's one of the ways that you can start to get in touch with the inner parts of you that need a voice, that need to be honored, that need to be held and embraced. And as I shared before, another thing you can do as an addendum to this is to put your hands on your heart, close your eyes, let yourself become the wise, ancient, all-knowing part of you, and ask little you inside of you, sweetheart, what do you feel? Listen to the feeling. I feel sad. I feel scared. I feel alone. I feel abandoned. I feel outcast. I feel terrified of the future. All the feelings, and acknowledge them one by one. Yes, I see that you feel sad. I see that you feel scared. And then you can say, what do you need, sweetheart? Speak to yourself gently, calmly, rationally, lovingly. Let those parts speak completely openly. Don't censor them, don't quiet them. And then acknowledge their needs, what they need. They need comfort, they need assurance, they need connection, they need security, they need safety. They need to know that you are there for them. So you can tell them that. I hear you. I know you're scared, sad, lonely, terrified about your future. You don't know how you're going to make it on your own. I hear you. I feel you. And I'm with you. I will never leave you nor forsake you. I got this. I'm going to figure it out. Usually when I do that, it reduces me to tears because there's the part of me that needs me to be the wise parental adult, the one who's going to show up and take action, to do all those things, put up the boundaries, lay out the discipline, do the hard things that I don't feel like doing because I'm being hijacked by a little 3-year-old who just wants to curl up in someone's lap and feel safe. I get to be both. I get to be the 3-year-old and I get to be the adult, but I don't let the 3-year-old drive the car. I let the adult drive the car. I let the adult be the one to hold the 3-year-old and let her feel comforted and assured and safe. Even if I have to fake it as the adult, as the rational parent. So those are my tips and tricks and mind hacks that I have to share with you today. These are the things I'm doing for myself as I'm going through this process. Hopefully that gives you some tools, some tools. I'm not going to edit that. I'm just not. I'm not at my best right now. I am feeling alone. I am needing assurance. I am needing to know I'm not alone going through this. But I'm willing to show up for me and do what I have to do, even if it's hard. And it's like a muscle. The more I do it, the stronger it gets and the stronger I feel. If I can do this, you can do this. So I invite you to do it with me. Save this video, go through it as many times as you need to. Show up for yourself. I promise I'm going to keep showing up for myself too. I'll see you next time with the next whatever it is I have to share. Take care.